We have our top waiver wire pickups heading into week 4 of the NFL season for you today. But before I get into it, if you could take a second, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you don't already so you know when new videos like this go live. Let's get into it. Starting off with the running back position, we have running back for the New York Giants, Matt Breida. And if Saquon Barkley continues to miss time due to a high ankle sprain, Matt Breida becomes a viable fantasy option. I know he didn't look that great in his first start with Saquon Barkley out of the lineup, but if Saquon Barkley continues to miss some time, Matt Breida becomes someone that we cannot ignore. So if you have a need for a running back, Matt Breida may be someone you want to take a look at. Next, we have running back for the Miami Dolphins, Devonta, and he's going to be one of the hottest waiver wire pickups of the week after his week 3 performance against the Denver Broncos. Had over 200 rushing yards, multiple touchdowns, but you need to temper your expectations with him. Honestly, a lot of players on this Dolphins team put big numbers up against this Denver Broncos defense who looked horrible on Sunday. But Devonta becomes someone that I'm interested in targeting on the waiver wire. I think he has the opportunity to earn himself a role on this team. He's the RB2 behind Raheem Mostert, but I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable starting him yet. But I do think he's a viable option to target on the waiver wire this week. Next, we have wide receiver for the Houston Texans, Tank Dell, making the waiver wire video for the second week in a row. And he had another great week, 5 receptions, 145 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Him and CJ Stroud have a clear connection that cannot be ignored. He's still widely available throughout leagues out there. So if you have a need for a wide receiver, Tank Dell is a great option. Next, we have wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers, Josh Palmer. And with Mike Williams suffering a season-ending ACL injury on Sunday, Josh Palmer steps into that wide receiver 2 role and becomes a viable fantasy option going forward. I also want to mention rookie wide receiver Quentin Johnston, someone who I think I'm going to be targeting over Josh Palmer, but both are viable fantasy options going forward with Mike Williams suffering a season-ending ACL injury. Next, we have tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, Jake Ferguson, who's making our waiver wire video for the second week in a row, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him. He saw another 7 targets on Sunday. He didn't make it into the end zone, but he had an okay fantasy game, put up 9 fantasy points, and that's decent for a tight end, but I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him. In week 1, he had 7 targets. Week 2, he had 4 targets, caught a touchdown. In week 3, saw another 7 targets. So this guy's being targeted by Dak, and I think he's someone that if you're struggling at the tight end position, you should take a look at. We have our quarterback of the week, quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, Andy Dalton. And if Bryce Young sits again due to the ankle injury, Andy Dalton will get the start again. And he looked really good on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. Now he would have a favorable matchup against the Minnesota Vikings defense, who have looked horrible to start the season. So if Bryce Young sits again and Andy Dalton gets a start, he's my quarterback of the week. We have our defense of the week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, taking on the New Orleans Saints, who will likely have Jameis Winston as their starting quarterback due to Derek Carr suffering a shoulder injury. And we know what Jameis Winston likes to do. He likes to throw interceptions. And this Buccaneers defense has looked really good so far this season, and they are my defense of the week. And that's going to do it for us today. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Until next time, line them up.